I've been having neck pain all day, and this is how I'm going to deal with it. Gemma is also here. This is our first time streaming from the new studio. So, the question is, will it work? Is the internet connection strong enough here for us to actually stream? Or are we going to have to buy those Wi-Fi signal boosters?
Yeah.
That's really what this is all about. And we thought, what should we stream? And we couldn't think of anything. And Gemma suggested that Onision has got a new autobiography out. But I didn't want to give Onision money. And I don't know how to get hold of that book. Been looking for Brick by Brick for some time. I've been promising people that we'll stream Super Mario Brothers Brick by Brick.
Yeah, for quite a while now.
Yeah, and I gave up on finding it because every download was a dead end. It had been basically scrubbed off the internet. Presumably Bob is embarrassed by it, and rightfully so, from what I've heard. The reviews are incredible. In fact, you might even look at some of the reviews, but the book itself doesn't exactly have a good reputation.
No, definitely
luckily, somebody on Discord had it. I put my feelers out as a last-ditch attempt. I was like, look, does anybody on in the server have the book? And within minutes, one guy, Jobe, was like, yeah, I've got it.
Yes. Very good. Thank you very much, Jobe. Well, I mean, it's preemptive, really.
Yeah.
Whether we should thank you, I don't know.
Well, the thing is, I wanted to do this, and you facilitated it. So, you are, you're like the guy. You're not giving me drugs, but you're like the guy that gives the drug addict the money. You're an enabler, is what I'm saying.
Ah, I can put that on my CV.
Thank you very much, Peter, for the $9.99. Since you're not going to be doing Onision's books anymore, did you catch everyone up to speed with the spoilers I sent you? Also, Strange Eons and Crimson Rogue have reviewed the other books. Oh, cool. I like Strange Eons a lot. No, I don't know that I have actually caught everyone up with the spoilers that you sent me. But I will. Is this live? It is, yes. But yes, so as I mentioned, if you're just getting here, the purpose of this stream is kind of a test, so I'd love for you guys to give feedback on. This is our very first stream from the new studio, so is it laggy? Is the sound quality okay? All that kind of stuff. If you're familiar, if you've been following Super Brit Bros, you've obviously, a lot of you guys mentioned in the premiere that you thought the audio quality in the studio was very, very good, which I'm happy to hear. It isn't finished yet. We haven't done all the soundproofing. We're actually upgrading to new microphones as well. So we're not finished with all that, but even so, I'm very, very pleased with the fact that you guys were happy. So now, yeah, just let us know about things like sound quality, lag, image resolution, all that shit, so that we know that the streams are good enough, basically.
Yeah, it's been a steady progress.
For fuck's sake, I'm just really dreading starting this. Just anything to prolong it. I'll start mixing my ice cream and protein powder mix live on stream.
This is what you came for, folks.
This is what the patrons all have paid for so long, you know. And now you guys are getting it for free. Those fools of the Patreon. That's right. I'm rubbing protein powder straight into my ice cream. The ratio is all wrong. It needs more ice cream.
Yeah.
This looks like seized like contraband from the police, like one of those designer drugs where you're like, I'm not sure what that is. It doesn't look like cocaine or ketamine, but it's a powder of some sort, and I feel like I shouldn't be seeing pictures of this on the news. It's just got that kind of vibe to it, this stuff.
Yeah, just like the color.
Yeah. This is Bob Chipman. So if you don't know Bob Chipman, brief history. One of the most annoying people on the planet. He used to be the game overthinker. In fact, I think we've got time to just look him up a bit, haven't we? So let's pause that a moment, and we'll just fire up some information on Bob Chipman for the people at home.
Absolutely.
Because I think we've got time.
A lot of people have expressed positive things about the new setup, and that they can hear us fine and much more clearly and crisper than before.
That's great. That's wonderful. Mm-hmm. And if it's not lagging out too much, that's excellent as well. So yeah, that's really good news. Thank you guys. So the next thing for me to do, I guess, is let's just Google Moviebob for a moment. I didn't realize that you guys were not as familiar with him as I am. I realized that not everybody who is on... in fact, if I just go Kiwi Farms, is probably the way to go, isn't it? I realized that not everybody who's in my audience is as perpetually online as I am. So basically try to imagine like a Quinton Reviews, like an annoying sort of... I mean, the term soy boy is a bit cringe now, but, you know, sort of soy boy. Fat soy boy, basically. But
like if,
this...
Quinton Reviews and Wings of Redemption had a baby.
Yeah, but imagine being as left-wing as Quinton Reviews and as vocal about it, but despite your left-wingedness, being in favour of eugenics and thinking that poor people and stupid people shouldn't be allowed to be born, basically.
Yep.
He's a strange man. So let's Google him. Yahtzee Crochet is bizarrely strong. Freakishly strong, so I wasn't looking at the chat properly. Freakishly strong. So not only does he carry the Escapist, but also Moviebob. Alright, so let's find him on Kiwi Farms here. Fabulous. Oh, yeah, let's get some funny memes, actually. There we are. So it's a little bit stretched, I'm afraid, the image. Hopefully you guys can see it, though.
Hey, Vince12, he's like, I'm listening to this during my workout. Motivate me through insults. You have to get better than,
yeah.
You have to do better. Work harder.
Yes. Are you lifting a heavy weight? Could you be lifting a heavier one? I think so.
Yes.
Look at Moviebob. This could be you. I'm gonna, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna use a separate, I'm gonna use, if I got a different display capture to that one. Well, that one doesn't seem to do anything. There we go. That's a better one, I think. Right. Dearest Peach, I could have been your Mario. Now I must be your Bowser. Here's the thing. He doesn't look so much like the Wings of Redemption. He does kind of look like Justin RPG, though.
He does a bit, yeah.
But instead of being obsessed with Reshiram, he's obsessed with Lindsay Ellis. So, Lindsay Ellis is a fucking rabbit hole. So... You know how Chris Chan was with Megan?
Yes.
There you go. That's all you need to know. Do you need to know more? Do I have to tell you more?
I don't think so.
This is the name of the video. It's probably going to mention it. Moviebob, the obese eugenicist. Yeah, it makes no sense. His entire politics make no sense whatsoever. In fact, let's watch one of his videos. I just wanted to show you this picture. But yeah, let's watch one of his videos. Hey, look, it's me. I'm live. Oh, this is one of my favorite videos of his ever, and it's actually on his channel. He's not ashamed of this.
You'd think there'd be some level of shame. I think there needs to be more shame these days. I think, you know, like not like a ton of shame, but like a little bit of shame.
Like a little shame is a treat, yeah.
Yeah, like yeah, just a little bit. I think everyone would benefit from it.
Yes, I use Firefox. Firefox is the best one for privacy. Screw all of you guys. I know Firefox isn't popular, but it is the best one for privacy.
Actually, what you can do is that if you like and subscribe, you'll get like our stuff on Opera GX.
Oh, I can't believe I keep seeing ads for that. I'm like, who the fuck wants this anymore? Oh, here he comes. Just before, because this is the guy, remember, who's going to lecture us, and this is the guy whose book we're going to read.
A year ago, I came before you in the flesh to tell you something you wanted to hear. That the enemies of gaming were wrong, that we were not responsible for all the evils they blamed on us, and that it was a fight we could win.
Well, here I am again. And once again, I've got something to tell you. But this time, it's something I know you don't want to hear. It's something I don't like saying.
Something it's something I don't like saying. Diet and exercise is important. Thank you. Is it Claus? Looks like Claus. Claus Mystery. For I don't know MX. I don't even know what that is. Moviebob is a confirmed Haze, anyways. What's happening? I don't know what your currency is. I don't know what these words are. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Also, just wanted to say that this particular style that he's going for is like a poorly made corporate video teaching you what not to do and about how to avoid sexual harassment at work.
Which is ironic because male feminists are going to be the types who are most likely to sexually harass you. But this guy, honestly, he looks like a Dark Side Phil cosplay. It's just.
But it's something that needs to be said, and I've never been shy about saying what was on my mind before.
Wayne Knight looking ass.
It's certainly not something I like saying.
I fully expect that this video will divide people, piss people off, and will very likely lose me more than a few fans. But I've never been shy about saying what was on my mind before, and it would be wrong to start now.
As gamers, we're used to being thought of as a problem, and when not us, the games we play. And as such, we're used to being defensive about it. We're used to telling our critics off, arguing the point, pleading our case. And we're used to being right, because usually we are.
Yeah, you are the bastion of what's right.
What do we do when the critics are right? What do we do when they have a point? What do we...
So we're not going to watch the whole thing, it's like 20 minutes long, but just give you an idea, this is the person whose book we're taking on, right?
Life. Maybe try walking to those, or use a bike if you've got one, or a skateboard if you know how.
Yeah, try walking. Try practicing what you preach.
You need to drive to. Instead of parking right up front, park further back and add some walking to the errand. Take the stairs instead of the elevator.
Now look, that's all well and good, but let's face it, we're gamers, and gamers gotta game. Plus...
Oh my god. I mean, granted this video is from 11 years ago, but still, gamers gotta game.
Sometimes it's cold, it rains, it's wet, it's snowy, and sometimes you just want to dive right into a big epic title and just soak it up for a few hours.
Probably still too late to be saying shit like that. That's like Rage Comics level, isn't it?
That's
like haters gonna hate.
2008.
To be fair, we had, not to shame the guy, he worked hard, but we had an editor on our show that was, in like 2015, was using those kind of jokes. Every time I was like, can you stop? And he just kept doing it. What can you say? I should have just edited them myself. It's my own fault.
Yes.
That's cool. I get that. There's a new Final Fantasy, a new God of War, a new Metroid, a new Mario, and maybe even a new Zelda coming this year alone. And when you get them, you want
God, all those games feel so old now.
Hey guys,
These new games that are coming out, and it's just like ancient games.
To be fair, I was going to think, when did Skyward Sword come out? See, what was it around about 2012, or was it earlier than that?
It must have been about that, yeah. Yeah. Pretty sure it was over at like Ben's place, and he was playing that on the Wii. So it turns out the protein powder mixed with ice cream is so fucking good.
Really?
Yeah. Wow, I'm just gonna do that a lot. Yeah. Anyway, enough of me being weird and doing bodybuilder stuff. Let's read. Basically, long story short, this is just a weird guy who creeped out Lindsay Ellis by kind of stalking her a bit. Makes weird, cringy tweets about how Trump supporters and anyone from the South is like genetically inferior and shouldn't be allowed to breed. Mm-hmm. This is a strange fucking man. And he wrote a book about the greatest video game of all time. I mean, it's a good game, but if I'd say greatest of all time. But it's a bit loud. Let's turn the music. No, that's me. Let's turn the music down. Just as the song ends, perfect. Non-stop professionalism on the stream here, folks.
Always. And forgive me if I'm quiet for a minute. I am finishing my food from earlier.
Cool new games like Pong, Tetris. Yeah. Anyway, that's the royalty-free music we're using, White Bat. If you like it, that's what it is there. Wrong thing. This. Right. Thank you, Claus Mystery, for the 25 mix and match bucks. His eugenicist utopia wouldn't have him. His eugenicist utopia would have him shot. Absolutely, of course it would. An obese eugenicist is just ridiculous, like as a concept. Mm-hmm. And also, he's not as smart as he thinks he is. He's the absolute epitome of a pseudo-intellectual. Oh, which I get the feeling, and that's what we're going to start now, I get the feeling that that's going to become clear in his writing.
The one thing that's making me think, you know that, I don't know if you've seen that meme of that, like, essay that someone wrote about Mario? That was
the Crushing Turts one.
The Crushing Turts one.
So, my friend Drew, like, constantly does the perchance thing. You know, it says perchance, and the teacher's just written, you can't just say perchance. He just does that in conversation now. And he's been doing it for months just to wind me up.
Perchance.
Yeah, he just comes out with it like that. You just be like being chilling, making some coffee or whatever, and just be like, it's like, could you pass that to me, Drew? He's like, perchance. I was like, no, don't. You can't just say perchance. So here we are, SMB3, brick by brick. The levels, the enemies, the history, the greatest game ever made. Bob Chipman. Jesus fucking Christ. Alright, guys. I'm sorry.
I know it's a little bold to make fun of someone's name, but like,
yeah, I know
Bob Chipman.
Alright, we're actually off to an amazing start. And straight from the beginning here, this book is dedicated to Shigeru Miyamoto for saving my life more times than he knows. In and of itself, very funny. More times than he knows. I mean, one would be more than he knows, because why the fuck would Miyamoto know who you were? Much less know how many times he saved your life. Second of all, Christopher and Catherine Chipman, for always being there. Judging by their names, I'm going to take a wild guess and say those are his parents. Mm-hmm. Meaning his parents were an afterthought after Shigeru Miyamoto in his eyes. Who does he need to thank? Well, there's, the obvious Shigeru Miyamoto. That's number one. But, there's people, it's like my dog and my parents. Just Mario the man versus Mario the idea. True philosophy. Oh, fucking hell. Peter and Patricia Chipman for everything, and in loving memory of Evangeline Chipman for setting an example. Okay. Super Mario Bros. 3, brick by brick. First printing May 2013. Has it really been that long? 10 years ago. So actually, you know what? This was completely accidental. I'm not going to claim any kind of foreknowledge of this. This was first published in May of 2013, making this 10-year anniversary, May of 2023.
Yep.
Entirely accidental. That's serendipity in action there, folks.
Absolutely.
Published by Fangamer LLC. I'm sure they're very proud. This book is also available electronically. No, it's fucking not. I went on there. It's just a dead link. You can't find this anywhere. Thank you, David. David B. Andrews for the £10. Gamers aren't the cause of all the cures. Oh, why did I say it like that? Gamers aren't the cause of all the world's violence. Claims hobbling bowling ball dressed as Columbine shooter. Denies resembling diabetic Steven Seagal. So just regular Steven Seagal then. More on page 4. Nostalgia chick on page 3. Oh, Lindsay Ellis. I'm not the biggest fan of Lindsay Ellis, but she deserved better than the simping of Doug Walker and this fucking guy, I gotta tell you. Super Mario Bros. 3, brick by brick by Bob Chip. I know what the book is. Come on, let's go. Let's get started. All right, table of contents, boys. Part 1, a brief history of Mario. Amazing.
Brief history, page 13, and finishes on page 25.
I imagine it's just the Wikipedia, let's be honest. Part 2, my life. I'd like to remind everybody that I quit about 9 months into my master's degree and never got it. Just thought I'd share that. My life in the Mushroom Kingdom. Part 3, the game. Shit, I just thought of the Rasmus. Part 4, Super Mario Bros. 3, beginning to end, and then it's broken up into all of the individual worlds. Amazing. And another empty page is probably just a problem with the PDF. Oh, Christ. I'm just so unprepared. I'm out of booze as well. So
I'm not.
We got a keg, right? Because you got a keg for the coronation, basically. I went to drink the last of it, and it was like the keg dregs. So I put it into a horn, and I was like, I'll try this. Fucking repulsive. Keg dregs are the worst. I don't know what it is, but the stuff at the bottom of the keg, don't drink that. Introduction. What a fucking beautiful opening. Good question, Bob. Why write a book about Super Mario Brothers 3? I don't know. Maybe because you're a fucking maniac. I have no idea why you would write this.
I'm already getting, like, Crushing Turk vibes from this.
Did you ever check this out? Did you know that this book is not actually the Moviebob book, Super Mario Bros. 3 Brick by Brick? It's actually a different book called Doki Doki the Panicking. It's the minty comedic arts review of this. Did you know? It's like 10 facts about Lord of the Rings you didn't know. Did you know that Aragorn really breaks his toe here? Yes, Minty! Yes, everybody fucking knows that shit. Did you know Return to Oz is much darker than the first one? Why is that one of your 16 facts? If you couldn't think of 16, do like 10. It's fine.
Yeah, it's like 5 things you didn't know about the Wizard of Oz.
Fucking hate him. Actually, you know what? People probably think I don't like any people on YouTube. And they'd be right. I'm going to assume somebody is asking that question. I am. And I'm the one writing the damn thing. Okay. This should have been... before you wrote anything else, this really should have been the big red flag, Bob. You know, the big red pair of overalls, if you like, staring you in the face and saying, let's not do this. This is something only an imbecile would do. A book more generally about Mario, the character, would seem to make more sense. He's an icon. The icon of the video game industry and of the medium itself. A character as entrenched in the minds of generations X and beyond as Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny. Video games were the rock and roll of my... Video games were the rock and roll of my generation. An art form that came into being and grew in tandem with our own lives. Embraced by us to the confusion and exasperation of our parents. And though he wasn't the first icon of the form, Mario was figured at the forefront.
What?
Hold up. No. Let's get through this. Mario was figured at the forefront. Our Elvis. Or if you prefer, our Beatles. Which probably makes Pac-Man Chuck Berry in this analogy. Right, I'm just going to fucking swallow my feelings and keep going. In any case, if this were to be a book of history or of pop iconography, it might be worth fucking reading. Surely it would be more comprehensive and sensible to cover the full breadth of Mario's career. At the time of this writing, Mario has appeared in nearly 190 individual games, covering almost every conceivable gaming genre. 2 feature films, 1 live action, 1 animated and released only in Japan, well now 3 I suppose, since then.
Yep.
4 animated series, multiple comic books, and in nearly every form of licensed merchandising imaginable. I don't give a shit about this. The story of the character's eminently humble beginnings, of his iconoclastic creator Shigeru Miyamoto, of his endurance through a changing video game landscape and sweeping cultural shifts. There's some fucking run-on sentences in here, man. Like,
also, I know that you've heard of a thesaurus, Mr. Chipman.
It's a little pretentious, isn't it?
It is.
But I was just thinking, just the comma splicing going on. You can't just write a sentence that's this fucking long. And just I'll just put like commas in it a bunch. Like, that's not how that works. I mean, it's fine if you're writing something for pleasure, but you publish this, you know? Maybe have someone look at it before you publish it. Mm-hmm. Actually, they wouldn't have, would they? If you gave this to like an editor, they'd have just told you not to put it out there.
There's like Vince Phil's like, no, rock and roll was the rock and roll of your generation, Bob. Just because you cared more about video games, that doesn't mean that they were important to others.
It's a thing. It's like religion is the opiate of the masses. Really, I think opiates are the opiates of the masses, personally. Excuse me, I'm a little phlegmy all of a sudden. That's disgusting.
Meat.
The sound went off then when I was clearing my throat. Yeah, meet and fuck the bomb battlefield. Fantastic. Right, let's start again. The story of the creator's eminently humble beginnings of his iconoclastic creator Shigeru Miyamoto, of his endurance through a changing video game landscape and sweeping cultural shifts. Would these not be more logical things to build a book around? And,
yes!
And even if that was very loud, even if one did wish to focus on only the games, why limit the scope to only one out of that 190, especially when there are other games in the series of greater historical significance? Super Mario Bros. 3 isn't Mario's first appearance. And then in parentheses, that would be Donkey Kong. I feel like nobody out there is watching... nobody out there is reading a book about Super Mario Bros. 3 who doesn't know Mario started off in Donkey Kong, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a safe bet.
Because here's the thing. When you buy a book about Super Mario Bros. 3, you're surely not going to go in there just, like, not knowing a thing about Mario, right?
Maybe you're just a huge fan of the author.
Don't lie to them.
Right. Or the game that made him a household name by reviving the previously dead home gaming industry. This pisses me off because this is just historically inaccurate, right? And people say this all the time. Every one of these like so-called like video game intellectuals always says this previously dead home gaming that applies to America and America only. Like the history of home gaming in Europe is much richer than that.
Yeah.
Like there was no crash in Europe. There was a boom of home computers and bedroom coding and stuff. It's very interesting, much more interesting than your personal feelings about Super Mario Bros. 3. But unfortunately, we're not reading that. We're reading this. The birthplace of functional open-world 3D platforming, Super Mario 64, or any of the franchise's myriad other big impact moments. I'm just enunciate a bit more. I feel like I'm mumbling. It's merely the third game in the Nintendo Entertainment System era. That's a console, not an era. Of the franchise. Where's the import? Where's the story? What's the big deal? I mean, there isn't one. This is not a book worth revisionist Mario-centric history. Assuming I was able to gather myself after receiving that withering barrage of queries all at once, I might offer that this book isn't precisely a book of history, though it will certainly contain its fair share. Oh, well, we'll see. We'll see how much of this is real, like, verifiable history, and how much of it is you making stupid guesses like the home video gaming was dead after the Atari was oversaturated the market. I'm like, no, stop fucking spreading misinformation.
Also, he's spending way too long explaining to us what this book is not about.
Right? Do you know what it reminds me of? And again, I should point out that the thing I was about to say was a parody, but this reminds me of the I Hate You, the creepypasta.
Yeah.
Where at the beginning, he's just like, this is not one of those haunted gaming stories. And then continues for several minutes, like, you're not going to find spooks or curses. That's what this feels like, except this is fucking sincere.
Yep.
Rather a book primarily of video game criticism, which of course only begs more questions. Why start with Super Mario Bros. 3 then? It's not exactly crying out for attention. It's one of the best-selling games in the series and of all time, already enshrined as an accepted, unassailable classic. Do you intend to challenge that status? Well, no, because you've said on the front cover that it's the greatest game of all time. Reveal the game as overrated, perhaps? No. Then why? Again, why?
I feel at some point during this stream that Bean Daddy will go on a tangent about the wizard.
I think so. I actually hope this book talks extensively about the wizard and about Moviebob's personal feelings about seeing the wizard for the first time, what that meant to him.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's a book worth reading, right?
Yeah.
New Super Mario Bros. Wii is more recent. Super Mario Sunshine is the most intriguingly flawed of the series. Super Mario Bros. 2 has the more interesting backstory. It's not really... It doesn't really have an interesting backstory. We've already done that joke.
Yeah. What,
if anything, are you looking to tell us here? Why should we be reading this when there are so many tomes of self-help, political fire-breathing, 12-volume epics of glimmering vampire bow huntresses attending wizard school? Just a bookshelf or a swipe across the touchpad, as it were, away. I hate the kind of stream of consciousness way this is written here. Just like, where he just like does a little aside there. That's such a like little onisionism that I really hate. That was a horrible sound you just made, Gemma. To be honest, even I didn't start out. To be honest, even I... Again, this is not punctuated correctly. Like, just point out I'm not an English teacher, but this is not how you write. To be honest, even I didn't start out with the intent to write a book about Super Mario Bros. 3.
The end.
I realized it was a stupid idea and stopped. Thank you, Nino Nerd, for the $2. I barely know this guy, but he sounds like a tool. I hope you're talking about Moviebob, and not me. If I do sound like a tool, I apologize. I know it's nighttime. I'm trying to be quiet, be subtle and quiet, and not wake the neighbors. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, he's a tool. This guy's really annoying. Thank you, Peter, for the $4.99. I'm ready for Jacob to foist this onto Gemma while he reads his copy of The Prince by Machiavelli. Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it, where that's such an iconic moment for the channel, just getting bored of something and just picking up a real book. I feel like that the joke's been done, but like it was a joke I was very pleased with. I think that turned out very well. But yeah, there's like just grab a random sort of like modern classic from around the house, like Metamorphosis or something, and just like read that instead. But a lot of the time, it's just to like wash your brain out a bit, you know. I want to know the history of the wizard and why the writers thought the kids wanted a video game movie about an autistic savant who was really good at NES games. Who knows? Who knows? I find NES is easy to say, but SNES feels unnatural to me as an English person.
SNES.
I always say SNES because that's what it was always called here. But NES, even though they used to say, mind you, nobody had an NES when I was a kid. Probably because I wasn't born when they were popular. But the point is, it was Super Nintendo, and sometimes you might say SNES.
Yeah.
But you usually just say Super Nintendo. But I don't know anyone that says SNES, but NES does feel quite natural to say as an English person. All right. But yeah, I watched a video of this English guy the other day, and it was... I wasn't sure if he was pandering or whether he'd just lived in America before, because he'd said like 10 in a short, like a 20-minute video, like 10, 11 words, like the American way. And I was like, ooh, it's just weird. It's just really disarming.
Yeah.
With an English person's accent. So you hear like when you watch like some of those guys like Outside Xbox or like What Culture, and they're like Super Mario Brothers. I'm like, ugh, oh god, ugh, no.
Stop what you're doing right
now.
No,
stop it.
Like you're not watching Mojo.
That's
why I like Outside Xbox, because they don't say like Mario.
Nintendo Entertainment System. No, we never said Super NES over here. It was either the SNES or the Super Nintendo. Not that anybody had them. Everybody had a Mega Drive.
Everyone had a Mega Drive or a microcomputer.
Yeah, and then when it came to... I had a Nintendo 64 as a kid. That was like the first console I properly owned. Which I got for my birthday when I was very little. But here's the thing. Nobody else had one. Everybody else said Nintendo wasn't popular here in this country.
It wasn't. I didn't play Nintendo 64 until I met you, really.
Yeah, everybody had PlayStation.
Yeah.
All the kids in like Western and Central Europe and over here all just had Sega or Sony.
Yeah.
Nintendo just didn't take off until the Wii. Start referring to the USA as the USA. See how they like it. Right. Super Mario Bros. 3 in the book, and I already have a bad feeling about this. All right, let's get going. It ain't gonna read itself. If only it would. Hang on, see if I've got a text-to-speech program on here somewhere.
Just get Toby.
Let's ring him. Just Toby, hang on. Let's get my little plush of him.
Yeah.
I do have a little plush of Toby. I don't have a webcam to show you, but I do have a little plush of Toby. If anyone's got me on Instagram, I am now going to photograph my Toby plush in my hand and stick it on my story without context. Which will be really, really funny, because nobody's going to know what the fuck I'm talking about unless they're watching this stream.
Yep.
Just anything to avoid reading the story.
Well, absolutely cool.
Just like, hey, do you want to do your job? I'm like, nah. So you want me to do the bare minimum required of me? Excuse all the clutter on my desk. There you go, Toby plushie.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I shall be reading my Detective Comics comic.
Detective Comics comic, nice. Yeah, they do call it that, the DC Comics. That was it when you see, what's it called? Cinema Sins.
Yeah.
It's like DC Comics. I hate Cinema Sins.
Same. I do love the Birdman, though.
Yeah.
Like his takedown of...
It's just like when anything happens in a film, there's like the slightest like thing that helps the plot move along. Just like a character gets a phone call and then shows up because the phone call worried them, so they went to look on the character. Character shows up because their friend who something set up earlier happened ex machina. I'm like, that's not what that means.
No. Absolutely.
Which is like entire world turns into a ball of fluff cliche. I'm like, what do you? I feel like we have a different idea of what a cliche is.
And it's like whenever like he's like, I like something, therefore I have to sin it.
Weird, terrible channel. I can't think of it. I disagree, Vince 12. I can't think of a single NES game that looks... In fact, I would go as far as to say that the NES looks worse than the Master System, let alone the Mega Drive. I
agree with you on that.
Yeah, I think the Mega Drive... I played Sonic 1 on Mega Drive earlier. Looks incredible, even from the beginning of that console. Mm-hmm. But yeah, nothing on Nintendo Entertainment System looks as good as like Golden Axe or even the Wonder Boy games, which were started as an 8-bit series. So no, I disagree. I think there's an element of nostalgia there, perhaps.
Yes.
Do you want to have any more of that ice cream? And we can put it back in the freezer.
No, I'm not that. No, I haven't actually had any of the ice cream yet, so I'm gonna eat some ice cream.
Yeah, it's gonna need to go back in the freezer soon. Otherwise, it's you can't like refreeze it. Do you know what I mean? It just goes gross and weird. So ever since it's done to Deus Ex Machina what Leafy did to Literally, or what Leafy did to Cringy. Cringy had to evolve into cringe. Had to drop the Y. I blame Leafy for that.
Well then, yeah, because he like...
You're the cringiest kid on the internet, guys. Here's some footage of me in a first-person shooter with the knife, and I'm doing platforming. This is the cringiest kid I've ever seen. Now, Leafy, that's a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
That's a 10-year-old playing with their Mario toys. And on that topic of 12-year-olds playing with their toys, here's one that never grew up. The format of this project took shape before the subject came into focus for me. I've lost where I am already. I'm just losing interest so quickly.
Wall of text here.
Yeah, you see, at least to my knowledge, at the time of writing, there isn't another book exactly like this one. Thank God. Video game criticism has existed as long as the medium itself. Yeah, well done. Said medium having come into being in the era of specialty publications, read lifestyle magazines, and reached adolescence in the age of the internet. Times where it became the norm that everything was to be reviewed, critiqued, and consumer reported upon. But the form has always had an erratic evolution. The first game reviewers found themselves in the unique position of having to be both art critics, what feeling or sensation does this game elicit, and product testers, does this device work? That's so people of those different careers speak.
Oh, yeah.
The rapidly expanding technology of the medium and scope of the consumer base created fissures and divisions as different groups of gamers demanded different approaches from critics, aesthetic critique, technical details. Does it have a good story? Forget the story, how does it play? But oh, fucking hell, this is unbearable. This is unbearably dull.
Yes.
Jesus. The internet age turned game criticism into one of digital journalism's fastest growing fields, with even more diversity, detailed write-ups and cultural commentary from the escapist, Polygon, Destructoid, blah, blah, blah. The dawn of high-speed streaming, making unlikely superstars of folks like Ben Croshaw of Zero Punctuation and James Rolfe, aka the Angry Video Game Nerd. James's focus on older and more obscure titles was part of a growing interest in giving serious critical attention and hindsight to classic or retro games. Hold up, you don't say the Angry Video Game Nerd and then follow it up with serious critical attention? You, Bob, you are aware that AVGN is a character, right? That's not how James actually is. You could watch Monster Madness or one of his short films, or really just anything else, and to get more of a flavour of the kind of guy James actually is. He's a pretty well-adjusted, nerdy, guy, just a little obsessive over the things he likes. Yeah, AVGN is not serious critical attention. That's a guy rambling. Today's sites, ranging from professional outlets to amateur free-for-alls like YouTube and Blip, are packed to the gills with an ever-growing supply of not only game criticism, but walkthroughs, strategies, and long-form chronicles called Let's Plays. Let's Plays don't really exist anymore, but I'm still making them. I do it though! Name any game that has ever existed, no matter how obscure, and chances are you can find multiple reviews, videos, and full-length playthroughs of it. And yet, amid all that, I felt like there was something missing. An empty niche. Maybe not a large niche. I mean, that's... What do you think niche means? It's okay. It's okay, Jacob. Just breathe.
Just breathe.
Whew. Maybe not a large niche, but a niche all the same. In my primary career, I'm a film critic, so I get to see how criticism differs in the two mediums. Imagine saying that proudly. I'm a film critic, like it isn't the most worthless job on the planet. So I get to see how criticism differs in the two mediums. And while I won't let this turn into some missive... I don't know this word. It's happened, Gemma.
What word is it?
Missive.
Missive.
This guy is... His prose is so purple that he struck me with a word I'm unfamiliar with.
I know what missive is.
A written message, okay. That which is sent, specifically a written message. What a pointless use of that word, then. You could have used anything else. Okay, great. Garbage. I'm inclined to note that blah, 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 blah. Specifically in film writing, there is such a thing as the shot-by-shot analysis, which is exactly what it sounds like. A book, or more often academic paper or presentation, that pores over a single frame, piece by piece, scene by scene, detail by detail, the lines, the compositions, the shots, the score, the actors, direction. Yeah, I understand. Bob, you've made it clear. When you went shot by shot is exactly what it sounds like, and then you said single film, piece by piece, that was it. You didn't have to continue. Not just an aesthetic criticism or a history or a production report, but a fusion of all three and more, the complete picture of a film. Why didn't this exist for video games? Maybe, Bob, because it's the most fucking boring idea of all time. Maybe that's why. This is a sobering experience.
Yeah.
My first thought upon not finding much that lined up with what I was now looking for, especially not available to consumers outside the industry or academia, was that it may have been tried and found impossible. But that didn't make any sense. Games are tangible things, at least as much as digitized information can be. Most of them have beginnings and endings, or at least a point where nothing else can be done with them. Whole books called strategy guides had been written with the purpose of guiding one through a step by step by step. Yeah, I know what a fucking strategy guide is. Jesus Christ. And if I couldn't find such a book, why not write it myself? The idea began to take shape. Pick a game, play through it from beginning to end, catalog everything you did, even the places where you did something wrong or had to start over. Describe in detail, not just the function, but the form, the whys and hows, and who's behind what was happening in the game. For good measure. So who do you think's behind it all? Moviebob. Probably blaming the Republicans again. Conservative men from the South are behind everything. Yeah, this is definitely a boring book. I'm sorry. Half the fucking chat have left. This seemed like a funny idea. I'm hoping it gets funny again soon. Fucking hell, this is so long.
How long is the book?
I just mean the preamble. Oh, I suppose pre-ramble is a better way of putting it.
Yeah.
For good measure, include what was going on for you during playing. Player input is key to the experience, after all. Oh, because there's books about you. Fantastic. So it's only fair to analyze the background, the background of the player, along with the background of the product. Yes, that might work. But which game? We know. The reader already has that knowledge, Bob. The book is called Super Mario Bros. 3 Brick by Brick. We know which game you chose. There's no suspense here.
Sick.
God, what a frustrating read. Oh. I would... It would have to be for an older game. It'd have to be an older game, for one. Not so much out of nostalgia or sentiment, because an older game would have its stature already secure. Preferably, it should be a popular game, one that a lot of people would have played. Or at least know of. A work that has affected the culture in a big, visible way simply offers more to write about. It should have a certain degree of variety, if for no other reason than to keep me consistently engaged, so that boredom doesn't inappropriately colour the analysis. Well, Bob, I mean... I don't know how much you know about keeping an audience engaged and keeping them from becoming bored, but you're not doing a good job, my man.
No.
Half my fucking chat went home. They all left.
Mm-hmm.
They all went to do something else. My guy, I consider myself a somewhat entertaining person. I'm no comedian, but I can keep people amused usually. But you're giving me nothing here, man. This is the worst fucking shit ever. This is bad writing.
It is.
Whew, okay, let's just get through this page. Alright, Even though I wouldn't be primarily playing for fun, I'd have to endeavour to maintain the sense of enjoyment that regular game playing is supposed to engender. Finally, I felt like it should be a game I was already intimately familiar with, a game I could not just approach, but return to in the writing. Aside from likely making the project that much less difficult, it would be appropriate to the intended tone. Not just some dry academic deconstruction, but an involved, emotive journey. It's not been tremendously emotive so far, but we'll see. I should be a game I loved. You published this and charged money. You can't have typos in it. Why was there no proofreading? Yeah. Bob, you have to proofread. Yeah. How many pages is this? You have to proofread your 200-page book. You can't just type it out and slap it online for people to pay real money for. Bob, you can't do that. I should be a game I loved, and thus there could be no other choice. Fuck me, look at this.
Oh, that wasn't a brief history of Mario?
It's me trying to do the Dawn of a New Day kind of sound, the over-dramatic Majora's Mask sound. It's a video game reference. I thought you might appreciate that.
It's also Nintendo.
Part 1, A Brief History of Mario. The Grumpy Son.
Mario's not even in the picture.
Super Mario Bros. 3, brick by brick. Press start. I get it! That's a computer game term! I understand games. This book appeals to me. Before we start with this page, before we press start, before we insert coin, see what I did there? I'm just as clever as Bob Chipman. Thank you, some English bloke, for the £5. Bob has a point. His background is quite interesting to analyse and chronicle, as a certain New Zealand agriculture forum has done quite well. I've been having problems getting Kiwi Farms to load up on here. My computer doesn't like Kiwi Farms. My computer's very staunchly anti-bullying, it seems. By now, the legend of Mario's creation is old hat to fans, but those who didn't grow up marinating in the game culture stew, why would you use that metaphor? Jesus, would likely be surprised at the utilitarian simplicity of his origins. Today, we're used to receiving our cultural icons only after a lengthy process of focus grouping and demographic charting, particularly video game personalities, who must often bear the weight of cross-cultural expectations. Japanese games frequently see their androgynous heroes transformed into hyper-masculine forms to better appeal to Western tastes, and navigate the minefields of socio-political symbology. Just what is the proper length of a skirt between sexually empowered and pandering male fantasy? Glad you included all of that, thank you. Mario, on the other hand, came about the old-fashioned way. A character was needed, and one was made in the best form available, from the tools available. Not with, from them. So they took the tools they had. In this analogy, we'll use a hammer. And instead of using the hammer, to hammer in a nail, they actually disassembled the hammer. Do you know what I mean? You can see how, language means things, Bob, and you can't just jumble words together. You have to proofread your book before you charge people real money for it, Bob.
Then just make it make sense, Bob.
Right. From the tools available, and rather than a marketing team or a team of demographic analysts, Mario sprang from the mind of one man, Shigeru Miyamoto, who we have discussed is more important to Bob than his fucking parents. Enjoyed that part of the book at the very beginning. That was the highlight so far. Today, Miyamoto is a living legend, the starry-eyed iconoclast of the video game industry, spoken of by other designers less like a contemporary and more like a mysterious sorcerer. Fucking hate the way you write. More like a mysterious sorcerer who deigns to walk among mortals. But once upon a time, he was just one among hundreds of men and women toiling in the nascent days of the game industry. Why do Americans say among and English people say amongst? Why is that? Anybody know? Anybody know why? Did we add the st, or did the Americans drop the st?
Well, the thing is, I think the whole
because they don't say whilst either, but we say while and whilst. They're interchangeable, but we don't use among.
No.
So I'm just it's weird seeing that word over and over again, especially without us at the end.
Thing is, ever since I think it was something to do with print, and that's why they removed the unnecessary letters from color and things like that. Although I still don't understand why center is ER at the end.
Yeah, that's weird, right?
But yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just we say amogus these days. But yeah, it's just a thing. I've just seen the word among so many times together. So it's 3 times in a row. Among, yeah. Yeah, my guy, you're using a thesaurus a bunch for this writing, and yet you're repeating yourself? Annoying. Hundreds of men and women toiling in the nascent days of the game industry, doubtlessly too hard at work to even consider that their every tiny success and failure might be laying the foundations of an entirely new medium, a new form of art. Miyamoto's backstory is a mix of iconic and humble. almost perfect enough to render him as a character in one of his games. A precocious child with a great love of art, music, and wilderness exploration, who dreamed of growing up to be a manga Japanese comic book artist. We're going to be here all a long time, Bob, if you keep doing that, if you just keep explaining what everything means. Like, credit your audience with some sense. I know your audience spent money on a book called Super Mario Bros. 3 Brick by Brick by Bob Chipman, so don't credit them with too much sense, but credit them with enough to understand what words mean.
Like, I don't feel like iconoclast is the correct word to describe Miyamoto. It's like iconoclast means a person who attacks settled beliefs or institutions. I don't think that's right.
No, I think icon is a shorter word, and it's probably a little bit more appropriate for what he's trying to say.
I mean, iconoclast is a nice word, and I like saying it, but it doesn't mean I'm going to put it in all my books to describe somebody.
Instead, he found himself working for Nintendo, a toy and playing card company that had moved into the video game business with decidedly mixed results. Oh my god, I don't care! And again, I know a lot of this as well. Guys, I'm going to skip over some of this, if that's okay. Donkey Kong, all this. The Golden Age, fucking hell. Why is this so unbearable to read? Like, this is how bad of a writer Bob is right now. I can't speak for the people in the audience, but this actual topic, which is the history of Nintendo, at least the modern perception of Nintendo, Super Mario Brothers, Legend of Zelda, the stuff that Miyamoto is responsible for, that is interesting. I know a little bit of it anyway, but that is genuinely interesting stuff. Why am I so fucking bored?
Yeah, and also, I just want to read that first line. The title told the tale. Super Mario Brothers was Mario Brothers blown up to epic proportions. That's what the term super means.
It's just great, isn't it?
It's like,
just extraordinary. Thank you, Brainflayer, for the 10 Australian dollars. Glad to see Bob didn't include any unnecessary details that bogged down the narrative. I know that'd be awful, wouldn't it? This thing is so streamlined, this book. We're just going from strength to strength, beat to beat to beat. Really just definitely didn't need, 20 more drafts to actually make it readable. Instead of a single screen, the hop and bop gameplay would now be spread across an entire world that scrolled from left to right in the inaugural example of a genre that would come to dominate the golden age of video games, the side-scrolling platformer. Mario and Luigi wouldn't simply be crossing the screen, they'd be passing through a whole world, different skies, different terrains, underworlds, even swimming underwater. Oh, huge. And this whole world would still need more characters and stories to populate it. Mario gained the ability to grow to a giant or super size via magical mushrooms, a la Alice in Wonderland, eventually leading the fairy tale inspired kingdom of castles and magic beanstalks that was being devised, precisely how the Mario Bros got there from Nukes, is the subject of much to be named the Mushroom Kingdom. And again, this grammatically makes sense what he's saying here, like eventually leading the fairy tale kingdom to be named, but there's so much crap in the way you kind of forget that that's what he was saying. Do you know what I mean? It was just stuff you could streamline with more drafts.
Yep.
The hostage rescue scenario from Donkey Kong was revived with a new damsel in distress, Princess Peach, whom Western audiences would know as Princess Toadstool for more than a decade. And the turtle enemies of Mario Brothers were expanded into an entire race of creatures called the Koopas, a reference to Kappas, mischievous turtle-like demons of Japanese mythology. Everybody knows that. Ruled over by the wicked Bowser, Mario and Luigi would traverse 8 worlds. God, I don't care. Fucking hell. Just keeps going. Just keeps going, guys. This is horrible.
Oh, the Doki Doki Panic.
There it is. In Japan, Mario returned immediately in Super Mario Bros. 2 essentially a more difficult, slightly tweaked remix of the first game, but it was judged both too difficult for neophyte American gamers and too visually outdated by the time it would be reaching US shores. It would ultimately be released there a decade later as The Lost Levels. Instead, the decision was made to convert a then newer Miyamoto game, Doki Doki Panic, into America's Super Mario Bros. 2 by redrawing its 4 main character sprites as Mario. Wow, I never knew this, Bob. Thank you for sharing this piece of Mario history with us mere mortals, us mere plebs. Truly, you are the iconoclast who walks among us.
God, I don't think I can do this anymore.
The American Super Mario Bros. 2 divides fans to this day. The radical shift in tone, style, and gameplay was explained away in the plot as Mario having a strange dream, but responsible for many of the series now. Oh my god, I'm so bored. Alright. In 1989, the impending release of Super Mario Bros. 3 was considered an event of such incredible magnitude that an entire feature film, The Wizard, was produced on the pretext that kids would catch mere moments of gameplay during its climax. The game itself would go on to be, for a long time, the biggest individually selling game ever. Do you know the only reason I actually knew that it was the biggest selling game of all time for a while? Because of the album Super Mario Compacted Disco by the Ambassadors of Funk featuring MC Mario.
Oh, yes.
Which was not released outside the UK. But there is a line that they're rapping, and I use the term rapping quite loosely, but they're melodically speaking along with the Super Mario Bros. 3 world theme, you know, the map theme.
Yeah.
It's like hop, skip, and jump, and something. Maybe it says something about rhyme, I don't know, and then it says with the best-selling game of all time. And that's the only reason I knew that. It was because of a lyric in a song. You know what? Let's get a link to that in the description.
Yes.
It's, yeah, small Moviebob memes. That's perfect. Moviebob, Wojak. But yeah, let's just introduce people to something, right? Because this book's pretty bad, right? So let's go on the Mario Wiki for a moment and just talk about Super Mario Compact Disco. This is just a track list. I mean, you say only released in Japan, but I mean it was also released here though, so yes. That's incorrect. I didn't realize it was released in Japan at all. But yeah, it's like considering most of the vocalizings on it have clear English accents as well.
Yeah.
Like I had some of these tracks on a cassette tape as a kid.
Because you're lovely.
You go to bed.
I'm going to bed because I'm possibly having to get up for work in the morning, and I don't want to.
All right, I'll probably go to bed as well.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go lie down for a minute. Also, that game like that.
Hold up, what?
What?
The next section is called Life in Wartime.
What to see in this life?
No.
I'm not spending it here.
Oh my goodness.
Do please fill me in.
What the fuck? Okay, yeah. I don't know that I can justify continuing without it wasn't fully apparent to all gamers. But ever the only game in town. They had major competition in gaming, such as Japan. Okay. Yeah. So the thing is, he acknowledges that Europe had this huge microcomputer boom, right? So why does he pretend that home gaming was dead until the NES came out. Fucking ridiculous. Okay. Oh god, this is dull. Mario 911. 1990, excuse me, not 99. Mario once again led Nintendo into a new age as the ambitious Super Mario World, Super Mario Bros. 4 in Japan, became the flagship title of Nintendo's 16-bit Super NES. And while the game was a major success, now remembered as a classic of the genre, and for introducing Yoshi the Dinosaur, one of the series' most popular characters, this was the beginning of the end for Mr. Miyamoto's plucky plumber as the unquestioned king of all video game heroes. What the fuck does this have to do with Super Mario Bros. 3? Super Mario Bros. 3... Mario World wasn't out yet when... Your book is about the previous game. Why are you talking about the next one? What possible cultural or historical context could there be to something that didn't exist yet? It doesn't make fucking sense. How did Bob serve as a fucking depth charge? Thank you, Brain Flayer, for the $5 Australian. Don't you remember, Cobe? The Great Toad War foretold by the prophet Mario. The Empire. English Mario will be like, wahoo, in it. A bit stupid, isn't it? So, we've been doing, obviously, video game content on the second channel, and somebody asked me, some of my work saw it, and they asked me about the name of the channel, and I said, to be honest, it's a throwback. So what do you mean, Super Brothers? How is that a throwback name? I mean, it's a throwback to a bygone era before the scales fell from everyone's eyes about English people. What the hell do you mean by that? It was an American friend of mine, and I explained there was a time on the internet. He knew what I meant as soon as I said Tumblr. He said he used the word teaboos. He went, oh yeah, the teaboos, I remember them. There was a time when people on the internet thought that being English meant that you were sort of like autistic, but in a sexy way, like Doctor Who or Sherlock. Now, being English on the internet is, haha, I'm not getting shot in mathematics in school. Bit stupid, innit? I'm like, that's depressing. It's a very sobering thing. But such is life, you know. Things change. Things... perceptions change, but the fact that we're doing old school Let's Plays, there's definitely a with the name of the show, Super Brothers, it definitely harkens back to that era of the internet, you know. For the Great Ape War in Donkey Kong Country. So why the fuck is he talking about Sonic the Hedgehog? This is a book about Mario Bros. 3. The console wars had begun. America, young consumers chose upsides. No, chose upsides of each. I see what you mean. Unheard of for the average kid to own more than one console. They were crazy expensive in those days. The same price now, almost, that they are. Oh, same price then, almost, that they are now, without adjusting for inflation. So, you know what I mean? Like, it was expensive. Turning friend against friend as both companies gleefully stoked the fires amid skyrocketing sales. The console wars had begun. This sounds like a line from fucking Star Wars, man. When the smoke finally cleared over the great conflict. Okay, clearly there are some people who weren't there in the chat when I said it in a sexy way. What do you mean? I'm like, you know what I mean when I say like fucking Ben Cumberbatch or Doctor Who, right? Like those characters who were sort of obviously neurodivergent, but they were sexy and quirky, so it was okay. That's what I'm talking about. You know, people, that was a time when Americans liked the way we spoke. Nowadays, they don't. But I enjoyed it while it lasted. I definitely rode that high on the internet for a while. The console wars had begun. When the smoke finally cleared over the great the great conflict between SNES and Genesis. And I always think it's weird that it was called Genesis in America. Maybe that's the reason it didn't do well, because it's a stupid name. Everywhere else in the world it was Mega Drive. Any Genesis, it sounds dreadful. It's too biblical. And also it's the name of a famous rock band as well. It just doesn't sound like Sega, right? Nintendo had more or less come out on top in terms of raw sales and corporate stability. In America, yes. Mario certainly had a spectacular 90s with Yoshi's Island, Mario Kart, Super Mario RPG, blah, 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 blah. But the war had taken its toll in the realm of public perception. I'm going to close this door because I can actually hear Gemma's TV. Seen things you people wouldn't believe. Cooper ships on fire. The shelter of donut plains. I watched toads amass near the dire docks. All those moments will be lost in time. I could be watching Blade Runner right now. I'm doing this. Could have finished my master's degree. Didn't. And so I do this on my spare time. Litany of cameos and side projects, and 2 Super Mario Land titles on Nintendo's portable Game Boy handheld, the latter of which would introduce the enigmatic evil doppelganger Wario to the series mythos. Wah! But the wah had taken its toll on the realm of public perception. Sega hadn't removed or supplanted their rival, but had successfully lodged the image of Nintendo and Mario as the face of all things old-fashioned, unhip, and childish in the industry. That's actually true. In fact, I was having this conversation the other day about the GameCube and about how it was pretty advanced for the time. If you look at the GameCube version of Resident Evil 4 next to the PS2 version of Resident Evil 4, it's much better in terms of graphics, sound, everything really. The draw distance, it looks like about half a generation ahead of it. But nobody bothered getting GameCube to play mature games on because it was Nintendo. It didn't help that it looked like a lunchbox. But Nintendo, that's for kids, or Nintendo 64. Nobody bothered with it in this country. It was like, oh, that's for kids. And I was thinking, there's tons of mature games on Nintendo 64. There's 4 fucking Turok games off the top of my head. Shadow Man, like one of the better console ports of Shadow Man. Conker's Bad Fur Day, fucking Hybrid Heaven. Just tons of games like this. There's loads of them I just can't think of off the top of my head. Like GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, all that stuff. But people just thought, oh, it's for kids. That's the Mario thing. So I will say that he's actually right here, saying this about people's minds. They started thinking that Nintendo is for kids. Childish. Hadn't helped their case of maintaining a Puritan policy against extreme violence or sexual content in an era where more explicit titles like Mortal Kombat and Doom were the talk of the industry. I don't remember the SNES version of Doom being tremendously censored. Again, I don't remember it, as in remember it, but like, as I mentioned on the Sonic Let's Play, like when I was a student, I got into playing a lot of consoles that I didn't have as a kid, so I got to play a Master System and SNES during my student days, because I bought them for cheap. Within the industry, Nintendo increasingly came to be viewed in much the same way the Walt Disney Company had been in the 1980s. Powerful but stodgy. Blah, 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 blah. Why are we now get the 1996? Who the fuck cares? This book is about Mario Brothers 3. Why are we getting to the N64 now? Fucking hell. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about any of this shit. Yeah, 2006. Master Chief. Christ. Yeah, now he's onto Mario Galaxy. Do you think he forgot that he was supposed to be writing about Super Mario Bros. 3? I think so, because he's pages and pages of just much more recent games now in the franchise. And now he's talking about how popular Mario is now. I'm like, you've already talked about that. This whole thing about what an icon Mario is was literally in your fucking opening. Bob, think. Use your brain. Come on. Jacob, there seems to be an error. I was looking for a book, and you're reading the Wikipedia articles for the... Didn't I fucking say? Didn't I say at the beginning when Gemma was still in here that his brief history thing was going to be just Wikipedia? Blank page. My life in the Mushroom Kingdom. This is where it's going to get good. Mary and I were born the same year, 1981. I'm about 5.5 months older. As such, I don't remember a world without him. Looking back, as best as I'm able, I know I must have been aware of his existence. Fuck me. What an embarrassment. But I'll confess that I was not an immediate devotee. No, that would be weird. Arcade games, both in full arcades and as individual machines at restaurants or convenience stores, were fairly common then, so I'd certainly seen the Donkey Kong machine about, and I distinctly remember Mr. Rogers once demonstrating how arcade cabinets worked via that same machine. I remember seeing the DK cartoon show featuring Mario once or twice. Though it wasn't part of my regular TV viewing, He-Man was more my thing at the time. In fact, apart from those aforementioned ventures into arcades, most often the one at good old Salem Willows Park, video games were just not much of a presence in my early life. And if only that had stayed. If only you'd never discovered video games, Bob, maybe things could have been different. Maybe you could have actually grown up. We'll never know. Home gaming, a big fad in the late 70s and early 80s, was well into its famous crash when I was becoming conscious of the world around me. The only thing I really knew of it was that it was some kind of grown-up toy, since the only time I ever saw a console was when my uncle and aunt would come over to hang out after I was supposed to be in bed, and he and my father would play through a game or two of baseball on Dad's Atari, a machine that, with its black and wood-paneled design, looked like all the other grown-up toys, the stereo, the station wagon, that I wasn't supposed to play with. Well, they probably weren't supposed to play with the fucking station wagon. No, not as a child, unless you want to be severely injured. Even the marketing blitz that accompanied the launch of the Nintendo Entertainment System didn't really intrigue me. Advertisers hadn't really figured out how to translate the fun of game playing through commercials yet, and early NES ads focused on the system's more explicitly toy-like features. Rob, a toy robot that ostensibly served as a second player. Blah. Fucking hell. The first thing I just can't. Oh my god, this is torture. I can see why Bob has tried to scrub this book from the internet. I really can. Just enough. You know what I mean? Like, just what an embarrassing thing this is. Like, my god. I'm just going to look at Bob's Twitter, I think. Anyway, let's have a look. Oh my god, is this real? So has enough time passed at this point that it wouldn't be awkward for the Germans to swing in and take care of this obviously dangerous nutcase running Poland? Roast whole chicken. Marinated in 3 days in Mountain Dew. Stuffed with lemon, lime, and kiwi. Olive oil, salt, pepper rub. Okay, Twitter. On Twitter, everyone is stupid, but nobody more so than those who think they're not stupid. Bob. Oh. Oh, Bob, no. Fucking hell, Bob, you dumbass. Show me some more. Show me some more bad Bob tweets. '19. I was supposed to be on a starship by now, conversing with intelligent robots, deciding what sort of body I'd like to upload my immortal consciousness to. Instead, we're all still on this fucking rock, wondering how to placate the white working class. Jesus Christ, Bob. You got some personal prejudices there, don't you? I'll never forgive the troglodytes who stole the future I earned to prolong their worthless existence. Yeah, this is genuinely how he feels about poor people. Yeah, the guy fucking sucks, man. He's a piece of shit. I love how quickly this turns. Let's all enjoy this one together. So this person, Jobe, says, even if what they say is true, what's wrong with having a group chat, Lamau? Like it's not some secret nefarious thing. I have group chats. It's nice to have a place to talk with your friends. And then Lindsay Ellis, Icker! I've uncovered the conspiracy of people being friends with their peers. Bob immediately fucking puts his foot in here. I, for one, am positively shocked. And a picture of him and Lindsay. Now, in, a world that was kinder to Bob, that would have been the end of the interaction. But we live in the real world, so Lindsay replied, This is honestly really inappropriate and creepy, dude. A selfie at a con several years ago does not mean we are friends. Also, the fact that I have soft blocked you like 6 times and you always refollow is creepy. Take the hint and please leave me alone. Fucking hell. Oh. Whew. Man, that looks like it hurt. Oh, man. Just incredible.